Um, Welcome to 716 Sports Blizzard podcast. And today, my guest is Chris Pomay. And uh, how's your night going?
Good. I'm just sharing this on my Facebook and Twitter page. So, hey, Robbie, I want to say thank you for having me on as your guest. I think this is my first time I've come on by myself. I think the last time I came on, Nick, my co-host from the Argo podcast show, was on here too. But I hope you're doing well, Robbie. And I've noticed you've improved a little bit on your shows as well. And thank you for having me as a guest tonight. And I like your shirt and I like your ball cap.
Yeah. Well, baseball's coming into season next week, I think. So,
Yes. Speaking of baseball, I have a live with CDP Sports Entertainment Talk Show tomorrow at 12:30, Monday, March 24th at 12:30 with Pat Malacaro from the Buffalo Bisons, who's their play-by-play announcer on 1520 The Bet in Buffalo, and he's also their manager of media communications. So Pat's going to come on and talk about the 2025 Buffalo Bisons, their upcoming home opener against Rochester on Friday at 2:05 at Salem Field, if as long as it doesn't snow. And he's going to talk to us about some players to watch out for and some of their new events and their new PA system at Salem Field as well.
and the Bisons also came out with a reverse retro jersey too, I think.
Yes, we're going to talk about that as well. I like the colors. I like it. A retro reverse hat and jersey, and I like the blue color and stuff like that. So we're going to talk to Pat about that. Are you going to get one of those hats and jerseys?
I'm thinking about getting the jersey for sure, cause I mean, this one was the one from when they did the Sabres hockey event there at Salem Field.
I guess they'll be doing another Bandits night again. They've got a whole bunch of promotions this summer down at the ballpark. And are you going to the home opener on Friday, Robbie, at 2:05 against the Rochester Red Wings, the top farm team of the Washington Nationals?
I won't be there for the home opener, but I'll probably be there like during the season to catch some of the games down there.
Before we get into the other sports too, how's your bowling going? And have you ever done 5-pin bowling, Robbie, or just 10-pin?
Five, 5-pin bowling is duck pin, isn't it? I think.
No, 5-pin bowling is huge in Canada. Like in Canada, 5-pin bowling and 10-pin bowling. But if you ever get a chance, you should try 5-pin bowling. It's a lot of fun. So,
Yeah,
but
I mean, it,
when's your next time you go bowling?
um, tomorrow night actually. When you have Pat Malacaro on your show in the afternoon.
How often do you go bowling?
Um, like like 3 nights a week in
Yeah.
the fall, but then like once or twice in the summer. But
What do you like the most about bowling?
um, just like meeting new people, making new friends, and
I think you should try 5-pin bowling at some point.
yeah, I think that would be fun.
Yes, but no, that's good that you like going bowling. And there are a lot of bowling alleys in the Buffalo, Western New York area.
That there's quite a few.
Yeah. So, but Monday, that's good that you like bowling. It's a lot of fun. Now, on average, how long do you go bowling for? Like, do you guys do 3 games? How many games do you do on the average?
Um, like 3 games. So yeah,
Yeah. That's all right. But as for baseball, yeah, the Bisons will be back in Buffalo this week. Rochester, I guess the Rochester Red Wings, and Pat Malacaro's eighth year as the radio play-by-play voice of the Buffalo Bisons, and they should have a good team this year. And Casey Candell is back as their manager for the fifth year. But they do have a whole bunch of new coaches on the team, and they have some new players as well. So, yeah, if you're a Buffalo Bisons fan, please check out Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern with Pat Malacaro talking Bisons. And yeah, we'll see. Major League Baseball's back. I still think it's too early to come back in March. I really think I'm old school. I usually thought it would be in April when it comes back, but who knows? I guess the Bisons also have a weather guarantee promotion too. If it's 50 degrees or if it's not 50 degrees on Friday, I think they're going to give everyone a free ticket. So I'm going to ask Pat about this guaranteed weather promotion they're doing for this Friday at the ballpark. And if you want to get tickets, you can get them at bisons.com. And as for Major League Baseball, I'm a Tigers fan. I think you are what, a Yankees or a Met fan? Yankees?
Well, my my dad likes the Yankees, but I like like Detroit or like
You don't have a favorite
any
team?
any team with a cool logo.
Okay. All right. Well, Detroit, the expectations this year is the Tigers should compete for the Central. So we'll see, but it's a long season, man. 162 games. I know the Yankees, they just lost Garrett Cole for the year. So I'm not a fan of the Yankees. I just don't think they're going to win under Brett Boone and their current GM. The Yankees haven't won anything since 2009. And right now, as much as I hate to say this, the Los Angeles Dodgers should be the favorites to win a second straight World Series with their payroll and their amount of talent on their roster.
Yeah,
What
it
are your thoughts,
sounds.
Robbie?
I mean, it seems like like the Dodgers could be good. Um, and like some other teams could contend for it too with them.
Oh, Atlanta, the Phillies, the Mets. But you don't know. You can spend money on teams and bring in big name players, but it doesn't always guarantee a winner. I really like the Dodgers in the National League, and then in the American League, I think it's up for grabs. Obviously, Cleveland, Detroit. I think Boston. I think Boston is going to surprise in the American League East this year. Just have a gut feeling Boston's going to have a good year, and I think the Blue Jays have had a good spring training. And the Blue Jays being the top farm, the Toronto Blue Jays are the top farm team of the Buffalo Bisons. I think the Blue Jays will have a good year. I think Bo Bichette is going to stay healthy, and I think he's going to have a big year. And Guerrero, I think he's going to have a good year as well. So I think the Blue Jays in Boston and Baltimore are going to compete in the AL East. I wouldn't be shocked if the Yankees finished fourth. I wouldn't be shocked if the Yankees finished fourth in the AL East this year. I'm not a big fan of them. I just think Baltimore, Boston, and Toronto are going to compete in the AL East, and the West. I guess Texas. I would say Texas right now, and then the Central. I'm going to go with Cleveland and Detroit. Cleveland doesn't have a big market. They don't have a big payroll, but I think the Guardians are going to be a good team in that. And by the way, in the National League, a dark horse team, the Cincinnati Reds. I really like. I think they have a good young roster, and Terry Francona, who's the former manager of the Guardians or slash the Indians and the Boston Red Sox. I think he's a very good manager, and I think Cincinnati might kind of surprise some people as well. What are you looking forward, Robbie, to the baseball season with the Bisons and Major League Baseball? Why do you love baseball so much?
Um, like what's that pitcher's name? Mason from the Bisons.
Fluharty, Mason
Yeah,
Fluharty.
yeah. I watched one game with him. over the spring, and he looked like he was ready to go for the season.
Yeah, like I said,
And
it's a long season. Go ahead.
and then like they they have like a lot of good young players in Buffalo and in Toronto and um like Scranton with the Yankees.
Are you planning on going to Bison games this year?
I mean, I'm thinking about going to at least a few, yeah, because maybe getting to talk to Pat Malacaro and uh like tweeting at him or leaving him a
He's a good
message.
guy.
And
Yeah, he's a good guy. And Duke McGuire does a good job too. I'm going to put you on the spot here, Robbie. When you go to a baseball game, obviously you love baseball, but what kind of food and drink do you like at a baseball game?
um sometimes um like a Coke and then like a hot dog or something with it, and uh just to enjoy the weather.
Coke and a hot dog. And do you ever get cotton candy or ice cream?
Sometimes sometimes the ice cream, depending on what the temperature is out there, and to enjoy the game. And
Well, I think the Bisons are gonna. I think they're gonna be competitive. Don't know how good, but I think they'll be competitive, and hopefully they don't lose 12 guys like they did last year. They lost a lot of guys up to the Blue Jays, which is a good thing because it means Casey Candell is doing a good job developing the Bisons for the Blue Jays. But it's hard to win in AAA if half your roster is sent up to the major league. So usually, normally a minor league team will lose a couple of players to the major league team during a season with injuries or whatever. But the Bisons, they lost a lot of good players last year to the Blue Jays. So I really think the Bisons will. I think they'll be good this year. I don't know how good, but Casey Candell is a very good manager. He knows how to get the players to play for him, and he likes to have fun. But he also wants the guys to perform too and play hard for him. So it was a good move by the Bisons to bring back Casey Candell for a fifth year. And I'm surprised Casey. I'm not sure. I can't speak for Casey, but I think he would be a great major league manager too. But he seems to like being down in Buffalo, and I think the Bisons will be competitive if they can stay healthy and they don't lose half their roster up to the Blue Jays last year. The Blue Jays last year were just a disaster. They just had a bad year. Bo Bichette was injured most of the year, and they didn't get pitching, and they didn't play well. And you just never know in sports, Robbie. You can sign all these big name free agents and draft all these high draft picks, but you just never know in sports. And I was going to say, Robbie, since we finished up baseball, if you want to talk about the Buffalo Bandits, and they had a disappointing game last night. I didn't see the game, Robbie, because I had another commitment. But I read up on their game against Albany last night as well. So, what are your thoughts on the Bandits, Robbie? From the game against Las Vegas and Albany last night.
well, when they played Albany, I mean that game was back and forth for a little while um before it went to overtime, and uh the goal by Albany. And um it looked like the Bandits were being physical, and then like
Did you watch the whole game?
yeah, and then
Yeah.
like when they went when they went to tie it, it seemed like the game slowed down after they tied it.
Well, I read up on this, and the first 3 quarters looked like it was pretty even. The first 2 quarters were even. But I think what happened, from what I saw on the website and looked at the box score, the third quarter, Albany outscored them 3-0, and 3 out of the 4 quarters were even. But the Bandits in that one quarter only gave up 3 goals, which isn't bad in a quarter, but they didn't score any goals. And I think that was the difference in the game. And Albany, and this is another thing too, Robbie. It doesn't matter in pro sports whose teams got more talent or what the records are. Because going into this game last night, the Bandits were 10-2, back-to-back champs. Albany was 6-18 coming into this game, and Albany won. And you got to give Albany credit too. And I've talked to John Tavares about this too. When you're the back-to-back champions, every team in the league, regardless of the record, is going to come hard at you. And I think the Bandits right now are getting everybody's A games. And look at the game against Vegas. They were up 8-0 in the first quarter. They were dominating. But the rest of that game, they were outscored 8-2 by Vegas. If it wasn't for that first quarter 8-goal run by the Bandits, they might have lost that game too. So this team is still in good shape. Last year at this time, they were only 8-6 after 14 games. This year, they are 11-3, and they're still in first place. So there's no time to panic in Buffalo. But for people to say, "Hey, this team's 18-0 and they're unbeatable," that's wrong. They can be beaten. And Doug Jamieson, the Albany goalie last night, 57 saves. 57. The Bandits did have their chances. They had 67, 68 shots. So they had their chances, but you got to give Doug Jamieson credit. He is a very good goalie for Albany, and he made 57 saves. And Ty Kirks, he had 2 goals, 4 to 6 points. And for the Bandits, it's the same guys, Josh Byrne and Dane Smith. Byrne had 1 goal, 6 assists, 7 points. Dane Smith, 2 goals, 4 to 6 points. And then Chase Frazier, who had a nice game, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. So the Bandits had their chances last night, but I think it was just the one quarter where they got shut out and they got outscored 3-0. That was really the difference in the game. And Doug Jamieson, I don't blame Matt Vince for the loss, but I think Doug Jamieson outplayed Vince in this game too. So you got to give them credit. They won 11-10 in overtime, and these guys are professional athletes, Robbie. And no matter what the record is, they have pride. They want to win, and they're also playing for jobs next year. So some of the fans can say, "Yeah, look at this. This is going to be a cakewalk." Any sport, Robbie, you can be beat on any given day, and that's what happened last night. And I'd rather have the Bandits get this out now than in the playoffs, because Robbie, in the National Lacrosse League playoffs, the first playoff game is one game, and you have a bad first game, you're gone, you're done for the season. So it's better for this to happen to the Bandits now than in the opening round of the National Lacrosse League playoffs.
When does the National Lacrosse League playoffs kick off? When does that start?
I believe in May. That's why they call it March to May. I think May is when they start, but the Bandits, they're still in good shape. They're 11-3, and they're still in first. Saskatchewan is right on them, but they have the tiebreaker with their win over Saskatchewan. So I just think Doug Jamieson was the difference in that game last night. 57 saves, and he's one of the best goalies. And every team that plays the Bandits wants to knock off the Bandits. You know this, Robbie, because the Bandits are the champs. They're the best team, and nobody wants to be embarrassed at home. And every game is not going to be easy for the Buffalo Bandits. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a cakewalk. And I know the Bandits' next game is this Saturday, March 29th at 7:30 back at the KeyBank Center against the Vancouver Warriors. I think they're Vancouver is 7-7, 500, but you can't take them lightly. And really, there's only a couple teams that are out of the playoffs right now. We'll go over the NLL standings. Buffalo's 11-3, Saskatchewan's 10-4, Halifax, who's a dark horse team, 9-5. Colorado is good again, 8-5. The Rock are Rochester 8-7, Vancouver 7-7, and Georgia 7-7. Right now, if they started the National Lacrosse League playoffs right now with their 1-8 format, it would be Buffalo and Georgia in the first round. And then teams that are trying to get into the playoffs, Calgary 7-8, who's already beaten Buffalo. Albany 6-9. Sorry, I said earlier 6-19. I don't know where I got that from. 6-9. So they're battling for a playoff spot too. The Rock are 5-9, Philly 5-9, and Vegas is 3-12. Really, the only team I would say that's out of this playoff picture would be Vegas at 3-12. But all these other teams are battling for playoff spots. And Vancouver, they're 7-7, and they're on the fringe of making the playoffs. Like they can make it, but they need this game as well. So the Bandits can't afford to take any of these opponents lightly, Robbie. And also the Bandits did clinch a playoff spot, but they haven't clinched that number 1 seed yet. So it's important in the National Lacrosse League in this unified standings to make sure you finish as high as possible, because you don't want that one playoff game in the first round to be on the road. So every game now for the Bandits, they've 4 regular season games left. Now I think this is where they got to play their best. They've had a bit of a lull lately with these losses, obviously to San Diego in overtime, Albany in overtime, and then the Calgary game. That was the worst game they played all year, with the Calgary game where they lost 17-11. You got to give credit to Calgary, but like I said, the Bandits are in a bit of a lull right now, but I think they have time to get out of it. But the next 4 games is going to be important. And Vancouver is coming up 7:30 this Saturday night. Robbie, are you planning on going to the game at the KeyBank Center?
I'm planning on going to that game to be there and watch the team try to beat Vancouver.
What do you enjoy about going to the games the most at the KeyBank Center, Robbie?
Just like the entertainment and like the Bandits coming out onto the field, and then like when the Bandits score, celebrating with the other fans.
You go normally with your sister?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and my sister, we go to those games, and it's like our time to hang out and enjoy a sporting event.
What's your favorite food at the arena?
The sometimes the ice cream stand, or like the soft pretzels, depending.
Ice cream, you like hard or soft ice cream? I like the hard. I like the hard better.
Yeah, me too.
Soft's okay too, but I like the hard ice cream. But hey, like I said, it's a big game against Vancouver, because Vancouver's coming into this game 7-7, and they've got their new goalie Christian DeBlanco, who they got from Calgary. So Vancouver is not going to be easy, and the Bandits. Hey, like I said, Josh Byrne and Dane Smith do so much for this franchise. I know Chris Cloutier had a good game the other night. Chase Frazier did last night too, but man, oh man, they Byrne and Smith, to me, are the best number 1 and 2 punch in the National Lacrosse League. Every game they're getting 6-7 points a game on average, and we'll see. But Vancouver, I think, is going to be a good match, and like I said, they just got to make sure they don't have a bad quarter, because that was the difference why they lost to Albany, is they had that one bad quarter, and that cost them. And then the game against Vegas, they dominated the first quarter. They were up 8-0, and then in the second half they were outscored 8-2. So I think this team at times, I know John Tavares won't say this and the players won't say this, but I know how good they are and how talented they are. But I think sometimes they go into a funk or just take their foot off the gas pedal. And now with 4 regular season games before the playoffs, I think now's the time they need to start playing their A game. Obviously, 18 games is a long season, and you're not going to win every game, but I think now it's important they start playing better lacrosse, 60 minutes or longer lacrosse going into the playoffs, in my opinion.
How long has Chris Swenson? How long has he been the PA announcer for the Bandits?
Since 1992. So 33 years. He's been with the franchise probably before you were born, Robbie, 1992. And Swinney, they call him Swinney. Chris is one of the nice guys. Have you had the pleasure of meeting Chris yet? And his son, Brett?
My sister got to meet him in the airport one time, but I haven't been able to meet him yet. And I mean, I would like to. It's one of my goals to meet Pat Malacaro and also Chris Swenson.
Speaking of the Bandits, I have a Bandit show on Wednesday. March 26th, 7:30 p.m. with my special guest, Allie Brady, the in-game arena host for the Buffalo Bandits at the National Lacrosse League. She'll be on as well. Have you met Allie? Have you spoke to her yet?
I mean, she follows me on Instagram, but that's about it. I haven't interacted with her or talked to her.
Well, if you get to the arena early enough on Saturday night, let's say 6 o'clock or 6:30, you know where the Sabres organ is? Their organist plays. She's usually in that section 121. She's usually in section 121, and if it's around 6:30 or before 6:30, she usually has time to talk for about a minute or two. Like she has to prepare and memorize stuff for the games when she does the in-game arena hosting. But if you go up to section 121 and just say, "Hey, I'm Robbie and I'm a friend of Chris," I'm sure she'll say hi to you and let you take a picture with her too. Okay?
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. She won't bite. She's nice. Just if you can get to see her before 6:30, before the game, I'm sure she'll say hi to you and just say, "Hey, you're a friend of Chris," and she'll know. Don't be afraid to approach people, Robbie. Don't be afraid. Just say, "Hey, I'm Robbie," and that. She loves the Bandits and she loves talking to the fans. She's a good person. So, and I'll mention your name with her on Wednesday night show. Okay?
Yeah. I'll also try to send her a tweet thing.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, you got to reach out to people and that stuff, Robbie. Hey, we've talked baseball, we've talked lacrosse, and your Sabres won today 5-3 over the Winnipeg Jets. This team can't beat anybody, but they can go into Winnipeg, and they won today 5-3. James Reimer got the win, so the Sabres now play Ottawa, but the Sabres are going to miss the playoffs for a franchise record, 14 years. What is it with Buffalo sports teams and these records? The Bills, 17 years, no playoffs. And now the Bills are actually a good team again. And the Sabres, 14 years in a row. Robbie, I got to ask you, who's responsible for this mess? You can't fire the owner, Terry Pegula, but should Kevin Adams and Lindy Ruff both be fired, or should just be one of the two be gone?
I mean, it could be one of the two that could be gone. I think it could be Kevin Adams, and then like they could keep Lindy Ruff around for a little bit just to see if they can get him to go like to upper management somehow.
To be honest, Kevin Adams, in my opinion, should be fired. He's had enough time to get this team going. And as for Lindy Ruff, I would move him up into a management role. I would keep Lindy Ruff with the Sabres because he's the heart and soul of this franchise. He loved playing as a Sabre and stuff like that. But I think the game is changed since he had his success. So I think I'd like to see Lindy get a role in management with this team. And I really feel they do need a new GM and a new coaching staff. It's not working with what they have, and you saw they've already traded Dylan Cousins to Ottawa. It's just not working. It's failed miserably. Um, I don't know. I can't see Pagola bringing back Lindy Ruff and Kevin Adams for next year. The fan base is desperate for a playoffs. The Sabres haven't made the playoffs, buddy, since 2011. 2011, and their starting goalie was Ryan Miller. They really have not had an elite goalie since Ryan Miller. So they need to find themselves a franchise goalie. They need to get some more help offensively, and they need a couple more defensemen. But the Sabres, to me, are one of the biggest disappointments in hockey. And I really thought this year they were going to compete for a playoff spot, and it's not worked out good as well. And to me, I really think Lindy Ruff needs to move up into management, and Kevin Adams needs to go. Terry Pagola struggled with the Bills for the first few years that he owned the Bills, but he finally hired Brandon Beane. Brandon Beane hired Sean McDermott. And even though the Buffalo Bills haven't won a Super Bowl or gotten to a Super Bowl, the Buffalo Bills have had pretty good success 7 out of the last 8 years making the playoffs, 5 straight division titles, 2 AFC championship appearances. So Terry Pagola, the football owner, has done a good job with the Buffalo Bills. But Terry Pagola, the hockey owner, is considered the worst hockey owner in the NHL. It was on one of these websites the other day. The Sabres are a complete mess. And I'm not saying fire the coach and GM all the time, but Kevin Adams has had too many years to get this team fixed. And Lindy Ruff, I don't know. I think the game has passed him by as a head coach. In my opinion, I think they need a new coaching staff, new GM. They need to hire the right people. Look at the Detroit Pistons last year. I know they're basketball, Robbie. Last year they were 14 out of 82 games. They won 14 out of what? 82 games. So they won 14 and lost what? 62 or 64. Total mess. They fired their head coach. They brought in JB Bickerstaff. They brought in Langdon, a GM from the New Orleans Pelicans. And this year, the Pistons are 40-31. I'm not saying they're going to win the NBA championship, but the Pistons have gone from being the worst team in the NBA and have only made the playoffs twice in the last 15 years. The Pistons are now number 6 in the East. So Tom Gore's the owner, finally hired the right GM, and he hired the right coach. They had some young talent there in Cade Cunningham and Jaden Duran, Isaiah Stewart, but they finally hired the right coaching staff and the right GM, and that's why they're successful, and they look like they're going to be set up long term. The Buffalo Sabres are just a complete mess right now, and I really feel they need to clean house with the coaching staff, GM. Terry Pagola needs to hire the right people to run this team. And in Detroit, they wanted Tom Gores to sell the team the last 10 years. People there were miserable. Nobody's saying that now because the team's winning. And if they did that in Buffalo, I'm sure nobody would complain about Terry Pagola if the Sabres started winning and making the playoffs again. Dan Dunleavy, who's one of my friends and the voice of the Sabres, he's been doing the games for a number of years now. He's never even called a playoff game in Buffalo. Robbie?
Yeah. And like do you think Lindy Ruff's assistant coach, Seth Appert, could be the next NHL head coach for the Buffalo Sabres?
I don't know. I don't know if they want to stick in-house or bring somebody from the outsider. But as for Lindy Ruff, I think he needs to go into management. But that's a good point, Robbie. But I do feel they need to get a new coaching staff in there, whether it's one of the assistant coaches or not. It's time, and I think what you got to do first is you got to find the GM. You got to find the right guy to run this team and get them back winning again. So I think the GM comes first, and then you decide what you're going to do with the coaching staff. But this roster is not good enough, and you can have young talent and that, but it doesn't translate into success. And the Pistons right there are a great example how they've gone from the one of the worst franchises in the NBA the last 15 years to now an exciting team that's winning. And Buffalo, if the Sabres ever got back to the playoffs, they would sell out that arena. You see how they love the Bandits. They support the Bills. So to me, the Sabres, it starts with Terry Bogola. He needs to come out and say, "Hey, look, as owner of this team, I've hired the wrong GMs, I've hired the wrong coaches, and it's just been a mess." And I think he needs to take responsibility. Either that, or maybe it's time for Bogola to sell the Sabres. Obviously, his number one priority is with the Buffalo Bills and their new stadium. But I think the Sabres need to either get Pagola to sell the team to somebody who wants to win, or hire the right people. And I know I'm going on a rant here, Robbie, but to me it's ridiculous. And I'm a Red Wings fan right now, and the Red Wings are going to miss the playoffs now 9 straight years. Do you know the Red Wings franchise has been around since 1926? They've never missed the playoffs 9 years in a row before. So Steve Yzerman is one of my hockey heroes and idols, and he's a Hall of Famer. But he's had 6 years in Detroit to turn this franchise around. So the Red Wings are kind of a mess too, and we'll see what happens in the offseason. But hey, Robbie, before we wrap this up, I want to say thank you so much for having me on here. And just do you want to ask me how people can follow me on my social media and my show too?
Yeah, so like you're on YouTube?
Yeah, Chris Pomay live with CDP Sports Talk on YouTube. Please subscribe and follow. I am on Twitter X at Chris D. Pomay. I'm on Threads at Chris Pomay, Instagram at Chris Pomay. I'm on LinkedIn, Chris Pomay. Blue Sky, you guys can follow me on Blue Sky at Live with CDP19 on Blue Sky, like Robbie is. And I have a website. It is called beacons.ai. Beacons.ai/Chris D. Pomay. And my next Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment talk show is going to be Monday, March 24th, 12:30 Eastern, with Pat Malacaro from the Buffalo Bisons, talking Bisons. And then Wednesday at 7:30, Ali Brady, who is a stand-up comedian, the in-game arena host for the Bandits, the Buffalo Bandits, and she's also the host of the podcast show called Analytics Are for Nerds as well. And then Friday at 2:00, I have Lindsay Earle. She is in charge of collections and memorabilia items at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. She's also a manager there as well. So Pat Malacaro Monday, Ellie Brady Wednesday, and Friday, Lindsay Earle from the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in St. Mary's, Ontario, are my next 3 shows and 3 guests, Robbie. And Robbie has been a guest on my show as well a couple weeks ago as well. So, and Robbie, I want to say thank you so much for having me on here tonight. And do you have a question, and one more question for me before we wrap this up?
How many more games do the Bandits have to win before they like get the number 1 or get home field?
I'm going to say they got 4 games left in the regular season. I would say 2 more. If they can win at least 2 more, that should get them the top seed. Ideally, they got 4 games left. You want to win all 4. But I think if the Bandits can win even 2, they should get it. But I think the Bandits will win. I think they'll win the rest of their games. They have 4 games left, and I'm not disrespecting their opponents by any means, but I think the Bandits have enough championship pedigree where I think they're going to win the rest of their games. So the Bandits are still in control. They just got to take care of business this Saturday night, March 29th, 7:30 at the KeyBank Center. You can get your tickets at bandits.com, and the game will be on CW23 and 1520 The Bet in Buffalo with John Gerkler and Steve Bermel and Dave Buchanan as well, Robbie. And hey, I was going to say, I'm not sure when I'm going to get down to Buffalo again next, but I will definitely be watching live streamed. And you can get the games on NLL Plus if you register with an email and a password, or in the States, Robbie, on ESPN Plus as well. So, hey, it was a pleasure coming on here tonight. And I didn't even talk about the world champion Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles are in Buffalo next year. Eagles and Bills at Orchard Park. I'm looking forward to that. Jalen Hurts, the Super Bowl MVP, against the regular season MVP.
Yeah, that'll be fun to see Josh Allen play Jalen Hurts and the Eagles defense.
Yeah, the Eagles defense isn't going to be as good next year. They lost Milton Williams to the Pats, Josh Sweat to the Cardinals, Darius Slay went to Pittsburgh, C.J. Gardner-Johnson was traded to the Texans, and Mekhi Becton, they're a big offensive lineman. He signed a deal with the L.A. Chargers. So the Eagles are still going to be great next year. I just don't think their defense is going to be as good as it's going to be this year. But that game, I'm really looking forward to it. And the Eagles-Bills game in Buffalo, I think will either be on Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, or Thursday Night Football. It will not be a 1 o'clock game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I like seeing that the Bills get those evening games like 4:25, 8:30. What like it's fun to see the Bills in prime time.
Absolutely, and just like the Eagles too. So, but hey, I'm looking forward to it. And the CFL starts their training camp in May. Robbie, training camp and preseason games for the Canadian Football League starts up in May, and the regular season starts up in June. So, CFL folks, check out the CFL's website, CFL.ca. And the CFL is a great league, and looking forward to the Canadian Football League. And then when the CFL's halfway through the season, the NFL is back. College football in the States is back. So for me here in Canada, I get football about 9.5, 10 months of the year. So I'm looking forward to training camp in May and covering the Toronto Argonauts again. Argonauts are 19-time Grey Cup champions. And every time the Argos win a Grey Cup, the Eagles win a Super Bowl. So the last 4 times the Eagles have been in the Super Bowl, the Argonauts have won the Grey Cup. So I've been lucky having 2 championship teams in the Eagles and Argos, and then the Michigan Wolverines won a national championship in 2023. So, but Robbie, have you been, before I wrap this up, have you been watching March Madness at all for basketball or no?
I haven't been following it, but
go Michigan, go Michigan, go Michigan. Michigan's the number 5 seed. I think their next game. I think Michigan's
when do they play
game,
next?
I think they play. I think it's this Thursday night against Auburn. Auburn and Michigan. I think. Yeah, I think Auburn's number 1 and Michigan's the number 5 seed. But I think they play Thursday night. They're down from 64 teams. It's 64-team tournament. They're down to about 32 teams, and there's more games tonight. But for me, gotta go for Michigan. Go blue. Final thoughts, Robbie. Final thoughts, Robbie, before we wrap this up. When is your next show, and when is Jonathan back on your show? And what happened to your other co-host as well? You had another co-host there for a while.
Oh, my friend Logan.
Yes, yes.
We try to go on at least once a month. Doing our show, talking about the Bandits and the Bisons and a little bit about the Bills. Because in April we'll be on maybe once a week leading up to the draft.
Oh yeah, the NFL draft's in Green Bay on April 24th to the 26th. I was at the NFL draft last year in Detroit, and that was crazy. 275,000 people. It was overwhelming, and to me, the NFL draft is as big as the Super Bowl. So, And you know what? That's how you build your team, man, is through the draft. And that's how the Philadelphia Eagles have won 2 Super Bowls in the last 7 years and been in 3 Super Bowls in the last 7 years. Is obviously they signed Saquon Barkley and they've added some pieces like AJ Brown through trade, but the Eagles know how to draft, and that's how you build your team. And the draft is huge. And I think Brandon Bean is going to do a good job again this year with drafting. But I do think the Bills will be good this year again. I don't know how good, but I think they'll be a good team, and we'll see what happens with Bosa. They got Joey Bosa from the Chargers. If he can stay healthy, I think that'll be a huge asset. And I think the Bills made the right decision letting Von Miller go. I think Von Miller is past his prime, so I think that was a wise decision. So I think, hey, I know I always criticize Josh Allen, but he is a very good quarterback. He's a very good quarterback. I still think Jalen Hurts is better because I'm an Eagles fan and he's a champion. But I think Josh Allen is a very good quarterback, a star quarterback. But we'll see. If you want to win a Super Bowl, you have to improve the defense, and I think that's where Brandon Bean needs to address the draft is through the defense, and maybe add another receiver. I like Shakir. I like Dalton Kincaid. They have some good receivers. I don't think they should bring back Stephon Diggs. I know there's been rumors that he wants to come back to Buffalo, but I don't think you want him back on the team. The drama, you don't need that stuff. So I think the Bills need to draft a receiver and add some more defensive help, maybe in their secondary. I think the Bills' secondary needs a lot of help, in my opinion, Robbie.
Yeah, I agree with you. And they just brought back Dane Jackson also, so
I believe for a 1 year deal. Yeah, that's not a bad deal. It's a low risk, high reward deal. So I don't mind that. DeMar Hamlin, I don't know why they brought him back, but we'll see. Brandon Bean has done a good job with the Bills, so but I do think he needs to spend a lot of time on the defensive side of the ball in the draft, in my opinion.
yeah.
All right, Robbie. Well, hey, we were only supposed to do 30 minutes tonight, and we did 48 minutes. So we talked a little bit about your bowling, a little bit about baseball, a little bit about the Bisons, the Bandits, and now we covered the Sabres and Bills as well, and Eagles.
Any shout outs before we end the show?
Just a shout out to the Kitchener Waterloo Titans. They are a basketball team that plays in the Basketball Super League. The website is Kitchener or kwtitans.com. It's pro basketball, and these guys are really good. And just shout out to all my viewers for watching and listening to my show. And again, you guys can follow me everywhere on social media. Just Google Chris Pomay, and on YouTube, it's Chris Pomay Live with CDP Talk Show. And I'm always looking for guests. If you have a unique story and you'd like to share on my platform, which has been on 2 radio stations, and I have listeners in 43 countries, please email me at cpomay19@gmail.com, cpomay19@gmail.com. Love to hear from you, and if you want to come on and share your unique story, that would be great as well. And yeah, please check me out. I have my favorite sports teams, but I also try to be objective as well. And I have a lot of shows that are non-sports related as well. And please follow and like Robbie here. Robbie has really improved a lot here as a podcaster. And Robbie loves his bowling and his Buffalo sports teams as well. And it was a pleasure meeting you, Robbie, a few weeks ago at the KeyBank Center as well.
Yeah, that was a fun time to meet you and get to read your website a little bit.
Absolutely. But hey, Robbie, I want to say thank you for having me on. And we'll definitely have to do this when the CFL starts. If you want me to come back in June, We can talk about the Canadian Football League and the Toronto Argonauts as well. And I've got 2 other shows, guys. The Argo Bounce podcast show with Nick Small, which is a CFL Toronto Argonauts show during the CFL season. And I have another show called the Small Talk podcast. It's a once-a-month entertainment show with my co-host, Marlene Sharp, as we have guests on from around the world on our show.
Yeah, that seems like a fun show to interact with, and the CFL Argonauts with Nick Small.
Absolutely, but all right, well, Robbie, I guess we're going to wrap up your show as well. So thank you for having me on as a guest again. And 50 minutes went by quick when you have good conversations. And keep up the good work, and just be yourself on here. Be yourself on here. You're not going to be perfect. Richard Rush says, "Go Buffalo." I'm an Eagles fan, so boo. But no. But hey, the Bills are going to be good next year. They'll still be a good team, and looking forward to the Eagles-Bills matchup as well. So we'll see. And the Eagles will be home for the home opener as the Super Bowl champs, and I think they're going to face the Lions. They got to play the Lions, the Chiefs, and the Bills next year. So the Eagles have a tough schedule next year with Kansas City, Buffalo, and Detroit on their schedule. Anything final thoughts, Robbie, to wrap this show up?
You can find my content on X and Instagram, and also over on Blue
You're
Sky.
on TikTok and TikTok too.
And TikTok, yeah.
When's your next show, Robbie?
My next show would probably be sometime in the next month or so before the NFL draft.
Eddie Bear. Thanks, Chris. Go Eagles 49er fan here. Haha. Hey, respect to the Niners, man. Hey, you guys had a down year, but you know what? I think the Niners will be okay. I like Brock Purdy. I think he's a good quarterback. I think the Niners will bounce back this year. I'm not sure how good they are, but I think they'll be okay. And much respect to them. And the Niners really should have beaten Kansas City in those Super Bowls. Both those Super Bowls that they lost to the Chiefs, they really could have won that. And that shows you, Robbie, the fine line between winning and losing in sports. And I'm appreciating this Super Bowl win by the Eagles, because I never thought in my lifetime I would see the Eagles win one, but 2 Super Bowls. So I do hope Buffalo gets their Super Bowl at some point too. And if you do win it, appreciate it, because it's not very easy to win. It's very difficult to win a championship. It's just like the Bandits. Appreciate their back-to-back championships, because it's not easy to win one, but they've won 2 in a row, and overall 6 since they've been in the league since 1992. So always appreciate your team more when they win championships, because it's not easy to do.
Any final thoughts?
Just looking forward to the Bandits Vancouver game this Saturday, and looking forward to the Buffalo Bison's home opener. I don't think I'm going to be able to come down for their home opener, so I'm going to watch it on minor league baseball TV. So I'm going to be watching Pat and Duke McGuire from my laptop Friday at 2:05. I'm really looking forward to it. Bison's in Rochester Red Wings, and hope you guys can all check out my show tomorrow. 12:30 Eastern with Pat Malacaro. We're going to be talking 2025 Bisons. Eddie Bear, great show, Chris and Robbie. See you later. Thank you, Eddie. Appreciate that. How do you know Eddie, Robbie?
He's been in a few TikTok lives that I go into, and I interact with him, and we just talk about the show. And
all right. Well, Robbie, hey, I want to say thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for having me come on. I was going to say for coming on my show, but thank you for having me as a guest on your show. And 55 minutes later, we did well. We were only going to do 30, and we did 55 minutes. And I want to thank your audience watching us on YouTube, Richard and Eddie and whoever else for coming on here. And I'm hoping to be a guest on your show again, maybe in June when the CFL is back. And their website is CFL.ca.
Yeah, and go Bandits and go Argonauts.
Thank you so much, Robbie. You have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon, okay? Thanks, everybody, for having me on the 716 Sports Blizzard podcast show with Robbie Schneider.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.